My dear brothers and sisters, have you ever wondered why, on some nights without setting an alarm, your eyes suddenly open between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., at a time when the world is silent, when everything is at rest, except your heart? This is not an accident. This is not just waking up. This is Allah, Al-Latif, the most subtle, gently inviting you, pulling you away from the noise of dunya so you can hear what the soul has been starving for. If you understand this time, you will never sleep through it again. When Allah wakes you at this hour, it is not simply your body responding to noise, stress, or routine. This is a moment far more intimate than we recognize. It is a moment when your Lord is calling you into a conversation that only He can initiate and only you can respond to. The world is quiet, the distractions are gone, and what remains is the heart. And Allah knows exactly when your heart is ready to listen. Sometimes He wakes you without warning, without a plan, without even understanding why your eyes opened. But He knows. He knows the burden you carry, the questions you've been avoiding, the pain you've tucked away, and the gratitude you forgot to express. He wakes you when your soul is closest to needing Him. At this hour, everything feels different. The darkness is not frightening, it is comforting. It covers the dunya and leaves space for sincerity. There are no phones buzzing, no conversations, no responsibilities pulling at you, just you and the one who created you. This is Allah's way of saying, I have been waiting for you, come to me. And He calls the servant quietly, gently, without force. It is never loud, never harsh. Just a soft pull toward light in the middle of the night. When He wakes you, it is an invitation. Not everyone receives it and not everyone responds, but the invitation itself is a sign of His mercy. Think of it. The Lord of the heavens and the earth chooses you in that moment among millions who are asleep to be awake for Him. Not because you earned it, not because you are perfect, not because your worship is flawless, but because He wants good for you. Because He knows that if you hear Him now, you will heal. If you speak to Him now, you will find answers that no one else can give you. If you stand before Him now, even briefly, your heart will settle in a way that daytime worship cannot replicate. Sometimes He wakes you because you've been asking Him for something. You made dua during the day, but your heart wasn't fully present. You prayed, but your mind was scattered. And Allah, in His generosity, gives you another chance at the hour when duas rise faster and hearts soften easier. He gives you a moment when you can speak without distraction, without pretending, without fear of being misunderstood. Because with Him, nothing needs to be explained twice. Sometimes He wakes you because He wants you to return to Him before you get lost. Perhaps you've drifted. Perhaps you haven't prayed with focus lately. Perhaps you've been overwhelmed by dunya, thinking you're standing strong while your heart is slowly wearing down. Allah wakes you not to scold you, but to protect you, to bring you back before the world takes too much from you. This is His mercy disguised as a sudden awakening, a quiet rescue in the middle of the night. And sometimes He wakes you because He knows you are hurting. You didn't tell anyone. You pushed through your day. You smiled when you were expected to smile. You convinced yourself you were fine. But Allah saw the heaviness in your chest. He saw the tears you held back. He saw you pretending to be strong when you were exhausted. And He wakes you at a time when the heart is most honest, because in that honesty, you can finally let go. You can finally say, Ya Allah, I can't carry this without you. And He responds, there are moments when you wake up and you feel peaceful for no reason. That peace is not random. It is Allah inviting you to taste what it means to be close to Him. And there are moments when you wake up anxious. That anxiety is not a sign of distance. It is a sign you are being pushed toward the one who can remove it. Whether the wake-up feels gentle or heavy, both are opportunities. What matters most is what you do with that invitation. You don't need to pray long. You don't need to know beautiful Arabic du'as. You don't need to perform a perfect act of worship. Sometimes all Allah wants from you is a whisper, a moment of genuine turning, a small surrender. Even a simple Ya Allah, guide me, that alone can change a person's path. When Allah wakes you between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., He is not asking for perfection. He is asking for presence. And if you give Him even a few minutes of sincerity, He will place something in your heart that no one else can give you, the quiet certainty that you are not alone. And that is why responding to His call, even briefly, is one of the greatest honors a believer can experience. Because when Allah wakes you, He is choosing you. The last third of the night is not an ordinary time. It is a hidden gift, a treasure wrapped in silence and mercy, a window that Allah Himself opens for the hearts that need Him most. When we hear the hadith that our Lord descends to the lowest heaven in this time, it is not simply information to memorize. It is an invitation to feel, to pause, to understand that there is something extraordinary happening while the world sleeps. Allah is not distant in these hours. He is closer than your thoughts, closer than your worries, closer than the breath you take as you sit in the dark. This is the time when hearts that feel heavy suddenly feel light. When sadness that felt unbearable in the day becomes something you can carry. When du'as you were too distracted to make finally flow from a place of sincerity. The early hours are unlike any other moment of the day because they strip everything away. All the noise, all the expectations, all the roles you have to play. You can come to Allah without titles, without explanations, without preparing the right words. You come as you are, and He responds as He always has, with mercy. There is a reason the righteous before us cherished this time, not because they were stronger or more disciplined than we are, but because they tasted something that daytime worship cannot offer. When the Prophet himself would stand at night, it wasn't only out of obligation, it was out of longing. A longing for connection, for nearness, for the tranquility that comes only when the heart meets its Creator in stillness. And if He, the best of creation, needed that time, what about us? Think of your own days. How many hours pass while you are busy with responsibilities, distracted by screens, overwhelmed by decisions? You move from one task to the next, from one conversation to another, and sometimes you reach the end of the day realizing you barely pause to breathe, let alone reflect. The last third of the night breaks that cycle. It gives you a moment when life slows down enough for you to finally hear the sound of your own heart. And in that moment, Allah asks, "Who is calling upon me so that I may answer him?" It is not a question of knowledge. He knows. It is a question of honor. He is honoring you by inviting you to speak. There is something humbling about being asked. Something deeply comforting about knowing that your Lord is waiting. Not because He needs you, but because He knows you need Him. He waits for you in a way no human being could. People may say, "I'm here for you," but they sleep, they get tired, they forget. Allah does not. He is there in every moment. But in this specific time, He is giving you a special access, a quieter doorway, a clearer path. And perhaps that's why waking up at this time feels different. Even if your body is tired, your soul feels a pull. Even if you don't pray long, even if you simply sit and breathe and say, "Ya Allah," you feel something move within you. You feel seen, you feel understood, because in that hour, Allah is not only listening to your words, He is listening to what your heart cannot articulate. Maybe you don't know what to ask for. Maybe you've been overwhelmed for so long that you can't even form a dua. Even then, this time is for you. Sit with Allah and let your silence speak. You don't need eloquence for Him to respond. You don't need long supplications for Him to show mercy. Sometimes one tear in the last third of the night is enough to change a person's destiny. This is also the time when forgiveness comes easiest. Allah loves to forgive at any hour, but in this window He is actively seeking, "Who will ask me so I can forgive? Who will turn back so I can shower them with mercy?" Imagine that. The one who created the universe is asking you to come so He can give you peace, guidance, and healing. And if He wakes you, even occasionally, even for a moment, it is a sign that He wants you near. A sign that He is calling you to a relationship deeper than ritual. A relationship of love, trust, and closeness. The last third of the night is not simply a time, it is a meeting. You show up with your brokenness and Allah meets you with His mercy. And when you respond, Even with the smallest act, you leave that moment carrying a light that no amount of darkness can erase. Because in those hours, Allah is closest. There are moments when your body wakes you at an hour you did not choose, at a time you did not plan, and you feel it immediately. Something inside is unsettled. Your mind may not understand it, but the soul does. The soul carries truths that we often ignore during the day. It carries wounds we never slowed down enough to acknowledge. And sometimes Allah wakes you not because something is wrong externally, but because something is shifting inside you. Something needs attention, something needs healing. You may think it's just random restlessness, but very often it is the heart calling out before the tongue does. During the day we move fast. We suppress emotions to get through tasks. We tell ourselves we're fine because there isn't time to sit with the discomfort. We bury confusion, guilt, regret, fear, because facing those things feels heavy. And when the heart becomes crowded with what hasn't been addressed, Allah, in His gentleness, chooses the quietest moment of the night to open the door for you. He wakes you not to overwhelm you, but to lighten what you've been dragging. And that awakening between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. becomes a moment that forces you to slow down and feel again. Sometimes your soul wakes you because it is hungry. Hungry for meaning, hungry for clarity, hungry for a moment with Allah that can realign what has shifted inside you. You might not even know what is wrong, you just feel a weight, an emptiness, a tightness in the chest. These are signs from within, signals that the heart is needing more than what you've been feeding it. And so Allah allows you to wake at the exact hour your soul is most receptive. He creates that stillness so the heart can breathe. Other times, the wake-up is a response to a pain you tried to dismiss. You may have been hurt by someone's words, or disappointed by something you hoped would happen, or overwhelmed by a responsibility you never asked for. During the day, you brush it off. You tell yourself to stay strong. You keep going. But the pain settles quietly inside you, and before it becomes something heavier, Allah pulls you gently into the night. To confront the pain alone, but to remind you that you never have to carry it alone. There are moments when Allah wakes you because you've strayed from your own values. Maybe you broke a promise to yourself. Maybe you slipped in your worship. Maybe you made choices you regret. And your soul, even when your mind justifies, cannot lie. The heart knows when it's out of place. It knows when it's drifting. And instead of leaving you to wander, Allah wakes you at a time when the heart is most truthful, to nudge you back, to remind you of who you are, to give you a chance to reconnect before the distance deepens. Sometimes the wake-up is not about hardship at all. Sometimes Allah wakes you because your heart is ready for growth. There's a level of iman you're being prepared for, a blessing you're about to receive, a responsibility you're meant to rise into, and the shift inside you, the restlessness, the usual stirring, is simply the heart expanding for what's coming. Allah wakes you because He's preparing you, strengthening you, shaping you inwardly before He gives you something outwardly. Your soul knows the change before your life reflects it. And then there are moments when Allah wakes you because you've been asking Him for clarity. You've been seeking guidance, but your mind is full of noise. You want an answer, but you're not still enough to receive it. And so Allah chooses the hour no one demands anything from you. The hour where your thoughts slow enough for your heart to speak. In that moment, you begin to see things more clearly, not with your intellect, but with your iman. What matters is not that you woke up confused or heavy. What matters is that Allah woke you with intention. Whether the reason is healing, guidance, protection, realignment, or elevation, the wake-up is always for your good. It is Allah saying, your soul is speaking, come to me so I can answer it. And the heart that responds, even with a whisper, never leaves that hour the same. Because when your soul calls and Allah wakes you, it means He is guiding you back to yourself. There is something profoundly gentle about the way Allah invites a believer to seek forgiveness. It is not through fear, not through force, but through a quiet opening in the night when the heart is softer and the soul is more honest. When Allah wakes you between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., very often it is because your heart is in need of cleansing, not because you are sinful beyond hope, but because you are human. Because you carry mistakes you haven't fully acknowledged, burdens you haven't released, and guilt you've kept tucked away in corners you avoid. At this time, Allah calls you toward forgiveness, not to expose your flaws, but to wash them away. In the Quran, Allah describes the people who seek forgiveness before dawn. They are not perfect people. They are people who know their Lord, people who understand their own weaknesses enough to turn to the one who strengthens them. There is a spiritual beauty in this hour that you cannot find during the day. When the world is quiet, the ego softens, the need to impress others disappears, the masks we wear fall away. We stand in front of Allah as we truly are, without defenses. And in that honest state, forgiveness becomes easier, more sincere, more natural, more transformative. Sometimes you wake up with a heaviness you can't name. It might not even feel connected to a particular sin, but your soul knows when it needs purification. It knows when there are traces of things you said, things you thought, things you allowed yourself to fall into that left marks on your heart. During the day, the noise of life distracts you, but in the last hours of the night, Allah makes space for you to finally notice what has been dimming your spiritual clarity. And istighfar at this time isn't just about wiping away what you've done. It is about realigning with who you want to be. It is about returning to the version of you that is closest to Allah, the version that you sometimes lose sight of. When you say Astaghfirullah at 4 a.m., you are not simply reciting a phrase. You are admitting your need. You are acknowledging that you cannot move forward with a heart weighed down by old mistakes or lingering regret. Think of how many times you carry guilt quietly. How many times you tell yourself you'll do better tomorrow. How many times you wish you could undo something you said, or return to a moment and choose differently. Allah gives you this hour so that nothing stays unresolved, so that nothing remains between you and Him. He gives you a moment where forgiveness is not only available, it is actively being offered, and you don't need to cry for that forgiveness to be accepted. You don't need long, eloquent words. Sometimes even a whispered, Ya Allah, forgive me, said with sincerity, carries the weight of 1,000 tears. Allah does not count how long you spent. He looks at the truthfulness in your heart. He sees the sincerity in the smallest turning toward Him. There are times when He wakes you because you've been running too fast and slipping without realizing. You may not have committed something major, but a small neglect repeated enough times begins to feel normal. The night wake-up pulls you gently back before the neglect becomes distance. It is Allah saying, come back to me before you lose the softness of your heart. That is mercy, that is protection, that is love. And sometimes the wake-up is because you are close to a blessing. And Allah knows that blessings are best carried by a purified heart. So before He gives, He cleanses. Before He opens a new door for you, He invites you to remove the weight of what you no longer need to carry. Istighfar becomes a preparation, a spiritual cleansing before a new chapter. Forgiveness in these hours is powerful because you are not competing with distractions. You are not performing for anyone. You are not rushing. It is just you and Allah. You show up with all your imperfections, and He meets you with complete generosity. He wipes away what you are ashamed of. He replaces heaviness with ease. He fills the heart with the peace you cannot explain. And the moment you turn to Him with sincerity, He responds, instantly, completely, lovingly. Because when Allah wakes you to seek forgiveness, it is because He wants to forgive you. There are times when Allah wakes you in those early hours, not because something is wrong with your sleep, but because something unseen is unfolding around you, something your mind cannot identify, but your Lord knows entirely. Often we underestimate how much Allah protects us. We think protection is only in things we can measure: good health, safety, stable circumstances. But the greatest protection is often the one we never see. The danger that never reached us, the harm that was redirected, the trial that softened before it landed, the whisper our heart resisted, the path we were pulled away from. And sometimes the protection comes through a simple act. He wakes you when the rest of the world is asleep. There are moments when the heart becomes unsettled and we don't understand why. A sudden wake up, a sudden moment of alertness, a sudden awareness in the quiet of the night. You may think it's random, but Allah protects His servants in ways that are subtle, ways that are wrapped in wisdom. He may wake you because there is something you're being shielded from, a decision you were going to make impulsively, a thought that would have taken you in the wrong direction, a path you were about to step onto that didn't carry barakah. And instead of letting you drift toward it, He pulls you into a moment where your heart reconnects to Him. In that reconnection, you see more clearly, you realign, you regain spiritual clarity before the mistake happens. Sometimes the protection is from your own self, from old habits you're slipping back into, from emotions that are clouding your judgment, from desires that pull you too far from Allah. During the day, you may not notice yourself drifting. You justify small choices. You overlook subtle signs. But Allah sees the direction before you do. And instead of letting you continue down a road that would harm your heart, He wakes you at the hour of mercy to bring you back lovingly, quietly, before the distance becomes painful. Other times the protection is from heartbreak or disappointment that you don't even know was coming. Allah may be shielding you from a connection that would have drained your peace, from an opportunity that looks promising but carries hidden difficulty, from a relationship that appears good but would distract your heart from Him. He wakes you so that you approach the next day with a heart softened, with intuition sharpened, with clarity renewed. And suddenly you begin to see things in people and situations that you couldn't see before. That clarity is protection. That inner shift is mercy. There are also moments when Allah wakes you because He wants to protect your iman. Perhaps you've been exposed to too much negativity, too much doubt, too much distraction. Perhaps your soul has been absorbing things that slowly dim its light. And before those influences settle in your heart, He wakes you at a time when your faith can breathe again. You may not pray long, you may not say many words, but that moment of presence, that turning toward Him, becomes a barrier between you and what would have harmed your spirituality. Sometimes the protection is from sadness. There may be something weighing on your heart that you keep ignoring during the day, a grief you haven't dealt with, a fear you haven't expressed, and without processing it, it could harden inside you, turning into bitterness or despair. Allah wakes you in the softness of night so you can release what has been building, so that your sadness does not become a burden that suffocates you. That gentle wake up, even if it feels uncomfortable, is a form of emotional protection, easing the heart before it becomes overwhelmed. And then there's a deeper protection, the kind you only appreciate later, the kind that becomes clear months or even years after the moment. You look back and realize that something changed within you around that time. Your decisions improved, your heart became calmer, your path became clearer, you grew in ways you couldn't have predicted. And you realized that the wake-ups you once found strange were actually moments Allah was strengthening you quietly, protecting your future, shaping your destiny with mercy you couldn't see then. Protection does not always look like a barrier or a shield. Sometimes it looks like a call in the night, a whisper that says, "Come to me," a moment that pulls you away from harm without you realizing it, a stirring that turns your heart away from what is not meant for you and toward what will bring you closer to Him. Because when Allah wakes you to protect you, He is securing your heart long before the world can touch it. When Allah wakes you in those hours, the greatest honor is not simply the moment itself, it's your response to it. What you choose to do with that awakening becomes a reflection of the state of your heart. It doesn't matter whether you feel spiritually strong or struggling, whether your iman is high or barely holding on. What matters is that you recognize the invitation and respond in whatever capacity you can. That response, even if small, is a mark of sincere servanthood. Sometimes you wake up and you feel motivated. Your heart feels open, light, eager. In those moments, worship feels natural. Your dua flows, your tears come easily. But more often, you wake up tired, heavy, your thoughts feel scattered, your eyelids barely want to open, and you wonder why you should even move. But it's in those moments, when the soul whispers and the body resists, that your response carries the most weight. It is not about the perfection of your worship, it is about the sincerity of your effort. Allah is not asking you to stand for hours. He is not asking you to recite pages and pages. He is not asking you to perform like the righteous before you. He is asking you to turn. Just turn. Even if it's slow, even if it's quiet, even if it's only for a minute. The moment you turn to Him, you have already succeeded in what He called you for. Sometimes your response might be as simple as sitting up and whispering one dua, or saying Alhamdulillah with a tired voice, or placing your forehead on the ground for just a moment. These small acts, the ones that feel insignificant to you, may be the very acts that bring you the most reward, because they came from sincerity, from effort, from love. Allah sees the struggle behind them. He sees the weight you push through to respond. And He rewards you according to the truth in your heart, not the size of your worship. And there are moments when you wake up but you don't even know what to say. Your mind feels blank. Your problems feel tangled. You feel disconnected, unsure, maybe even unworthy. But Allah didn't wake you because of your perfection. He woke you because He wants you near. Even silence can be worship when the heart is facing Him. Even sitting with Him in stillness, acknowledging His presence, is a response that He honors. Responding to His call also builds something inside you. It shapes your heart. It strengthens your reliance. Every time you respond, even briefly, your soul learns to choose Allah before choosing comfort. Your relationship with Him deepens in a way that daytime worship cannot replicate. And over time, you begin to notice subtle changes. Your patience grows. Your clarity increases. Your emotional resilience strengthens. Your decisions become more aligned with truth. That is the fruit of responding even in small doses. Sometimes your response opens a door you didn't know was closed. You may have been asking Allah for something, guidance, provision, healing, clarity, and the night response becomes the key that unlocks it. You may think what you did was minor, almost effortless, but to Allah it was a step toward Him. And He promised, when my servant comes to me walking, I come to him running. The distance between where you are and where you want to be begins to shorten the moment you respond. And if you miss the chance some nights, you don't need to drown in guilt. Allah's invitations are not limited to the nights you succeed. His mercy extends far beyond your inconsistencies. What matters is that when you do wake up, you choose to respond with whatever capacity you have that night. One sincere moment in the last third of the night can outweigh years of sporadic worship. Because sincerity is heavier than quantity, and presence is more valuable than perfection. The beauty of responding is that it turns a random wake-up into a moment of closeness. It turns an ordinary hour into a sacred one. It turns your weakness into an act of strength. And even if no one in the world knows that you woke up, even if no one sees your small acts in the dark, Allah sees every breath you take for Him in those moments. Because when Allah wakes you and you respond, even with the smallest whisper, you rise in His sight in a way that nothing else can match. When you put all of this together, the invitation, the mercy, the clarity, the healing, the protection, the forgiveness, and the chance to respond, you begin to realize that waking between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. is not a disturbance to your sleep. It is a conversation with your Creator. It is a moment written just for you, at a time when your heart is most ready, when your soul is most open, when your defenses are gone and your sincerity is strongest. Allah does not wake you to burden you. He wakes you to bless you, to pull you gently toward a place where you can hear Him, feel Him, and return to Him in a way you may not be able to during the noise of the day. And if you look closely at your life, you will see that every time Allah woke you in those hours, something inside you was being shifted. Sometimes healed, sometimes protected, sometimes forgiven, sometimes guided, sometimes elevated. Each awakening was a reminder that He has not left you for a single moment, that even when you forget Him, He remembers you. Even when you turn away, He turns toward you. Even when you feel distant, He is near, nearer than anything else you know. So the next time your eyes open in that sacred window, don't rush back to sleep. Don't dismiss it. Don't think it's random. Pause, breathe, feel the presence of the one who called you. Even a whisper, even a single dua, even a quiet moment facing Him can change the course of your day and the course of your life. Because in those hours, Allah is not just waking you, He is choosing you.